Imagine being able to automatically generate hundreds of business cards, social graphics, appeal letters, flyers, and all other sorts of materials with customized images and text fields, all in just a few seconds. With merge fields in Adobe InDesign, you can do just that, and it's easier than you might think. So to start, we have our mockup of our business card here in InDesign. Now, even though merge fields are going to do a lot of the heavy lifting later on, I always like to start with a proof of concept first. That way I can tell exactly how the text and images will look in our finished piece. It also helps us determine what merge fields we might need. So in our case, we'll want to customize each of these lines of text as well as two of our images. The pips down here at the bottom of our layout and the color image over here on the side. We want to be able to swap both of those images out as well as the text, which is very easy to do. Now, in order to actually get the data for our merge, we'll need to use some sort of spreadsheet tool. That could be Google Sheets, Excel, OpenOffice, pretty much any spreadsheet tool will work. So let's take a look at an example. So here we have our data file in Google Sheets. So don't worry if you don't have a subscription to Excel, you can do this with tools accessible to anyone. Now, the term data file sounds really scary. It sounds like something you can only pull from a specialized database with teams of data scientists or something that you can only get if you have pre-existing information. But it's really not as scary as it sounds. This is a Google document that I typed up myself in just a few minutes. No special database, no special software. If you have a database, that's great. But if you don't, you can still do this just fine. So for our data spreadsheet, I have all the sections here that we'll need for our merge fields. Our first row all the way across will be the name of our merge field. So you can see up at the top we have first, last, title, etc. And everything below that first row will be the data that we're merging. And as I mentioned earlier, we're also going to be merging images as well as text. And these two final columns over on the right will help us do just that. But in order to make our image merge field work, we have to do a little bit of extra work here. So if I click on one of these header cells, you can see it looks like it begins with the @ symbol before our merge field name. But if you look over at the formula bar, you can see that there's actually one extra character. There's actually an apostrophe that comes before the @ symbol. Now you need that apostrophe for this to work, so just type it as normal. It will disappear from your cell, but you can always see that it's still up there in our formula bar. And underneath, we can see that we have the name of each of the images that we want to merge for each record. These can be JPEGs, Illustrator files, really any type of image or graphic that InDesign can handle. You may also notice that in our case, I only listed the image name. That's because I'm planning on keeping our data file in the same folder as our images. So you don't need any extra paths. But if I were to create a special folder for those images, I would just add a slash followed by the name of our folder, and then another slash followed by our file name. Just remember that that path is relative to wherever your data file is. But generally, I keep my data file and my images in the same folder. It's just a lot easier that way. Now our next step is going to be to save our data file in a format that works with InDesign. The most common file type for this is going to be a CSV file. So to do that here in Google Sheets, we just have to go up to File, Download, and then down here towards the bottom we see comma separated values, or CSV. Now if you're using Excel, especially on a Mac, you'll be going to File, Save As, and in the file format you will choose comma separated values. But you have to be a bit careful. It will show you some common formats up at the top, and one of them says comma delineated CSV. So the same file type that we're looking for, but if you choose that option, it will not work. You have to choose the CSV option that's under specialty formats. So that's just something a little bit extra to watch out for. Now, once we download our CSV and have it saved in the same folder with our images, we can go ahead and head back over to InDesign. All right, so we're back here with our design mockup, and we can finally start the process of importing our data. To do that, we're going to need the help of our data merge panel. To bring that up, we'll go up to Window, Utilities, Data Merge, and that will bring up our data merge panel. Now that we have that panel active, let's go ahead and select our data source. And to do that, we'll just click on this hamburger button here, and we'll choose Select Data Source. And now we just have to locate our CSV file and then click Open. And now we can see that our data merge panel has populated with our list of possible merge fields. Now we just need to replace our mockup text with these merge fields. So we're just going to go over and highlight the sections of text that we want. So for example, highlighting the first name, and then we're going to go back over to our list of merge fields and click on first. And then we'll do the same with the last name and so on. And I'll do this for each of our merge fields throughout our document. And notice that each time I do this, it replaces the text from our mockup with the new merge field text. Also, don't worry if it makes our text longer. We can see that that first row is going outside of the area that we would ideally like it, but that's all temporary. Once our data comes through, the size will all look right. That's also why it's a good idea to choose short words for our merge fields. And now for our images. Our data merge file does a great job of telling us which of these fields are for text and which are for images. We can tell by the little icon that's to the left of our merge field. So to use these images, we'll just click and drag that onto the image that we want to replace. Now that made our previous image disappear, but don't worry, it's just waiting for our images to merge. So we'll do the same thing with our second image. All right, now that all of our merge fields are in place, all we have to do to see what our file will look like is to click on this little preview box here. And just like that, we can see our data populated. Then with these arrows, we can cycle through our different records to see how each of them will look. So that's looking good. Okay, so this one's looking a little bit weird. There's an extra space before our first merge field because we only had data for one name. But don't worry, we can fix this very easily later on. I'll show you a great way to automatically deal with those issues. So just flipping through a few more. All right. And here again, we can see that we have that same issue with an extra space. But we also can see that one of our images remained blank. But don't worry, that was intentional. We didn't have an image for this record in that location, so leaving that blank is just fine. If you don't have an appropriate image for the merge field, it will just show up blank. So flipping through a few more of these records, and everything's looking pretty good. It's just that one issue with the extra spaces that's causing any issues. Now, once we're happy with how our data is looking, we're ready to perform our merge. So to do that, we just stay here in our data merge panel and we'll go up to this button here at the top right and click it to create our merged document. Now that will pop up with a few options. In our case, we're only merging one record per page, which keeps things simple. But if we were building a whole sheet of business cards with multiple cards on one page, then we'd want to take a look at this multiple record layout setting. But there's a very specific method to that, so if you want to see a video on how to perform that multiple record merge, let me know down in the comments and I'll be sure to prioritize getting that video out. So for now, these default settings will be perfect for our needs. So let's go ahead and hit OK. All right, now it's giving us a report telling us that we don't have any overset text, which is great to hear. If we did have some, it wouldn't be a huge deal. We could just go through and correct those. So we again could just hit OK. And now we can see it generated a whole new InDesign file for us. And if I check our Pages tab over here, it shows us that we have all of those different records, each with their own page. So that's looking exactly like we were hoping. Now we're almost done, but remember we still need to fix a few of those single name records like the one that we had on page 3. So let's check that out. To get rid of that automatically throughout our document, all we have to do is go up to Edit, Find and Change. Or you could just use the shortcut Control F or Command F on a Mac to bring that up. Now by default, this menu will probably be set on text, which we can see up here at the top. But in our case, we actually want to click on grep, which stands for Global Regular Expression Print. But don't worry, I won't quiz you on that. I know it's a mouthful. All you need to know is that this is a method for looking for text patterns within our document. And in our case, what we're looking for is any place where we have a space at the beginning of our paragraph. So to do this, we'll just click on the @ symbol next to our Find field, and we'll go down to Locations, Beginning of Paragraph, and we'll click that. And now we can see that that brought up a little caret in our search bar. That's the symbol for the start of a paragraph. And then after that caret, we'll just type a space. That's telling InDesign that we want to find each instance of a paragraph that starts with a space. Then we can just leave the Change To field blank, meaning we want InDesign to just get rid of it. So now we just need to hit Change All. Now it will pop up with this message, in our case telling us that it made 6 replacements. We can just hit OK and then close out of that dialog box. And now we can see that on each of those pages where we had that extra space, it's gone throughout our document. So everything's looking exactly how we want it. And that's it. Now we have our completed merge file. We can do anything we want with this. We can export this to a PDF, send it to print, use it to generate social media posts. There are just so many uses for this. So let me know down in the comments what you intend to use it for. There are so many different uses that I probably couldn't even think of them all. Now that you've mastered the art of merge fields, how about copying and applying effects from one InDesign element to another, without having to recreate each of those effects one at a time? I have a video right here to walk you through how to do exactly that.